welcome. My name is Jeff Bull. I am currently chair of the Westport Landing Commission. This is our April 15th meeting. As is our tradition, we will pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, you have a copy of your agenda. I would like to welcome our newly elected Commissioner Beth Pollen. Thank you for joining our little team here. Appreciate it. And actually, something I neglected to put on the agenda, the first thing we have to do is to elect new officers.
How would you like to be the
I can
secretary?
see people cringing left and right.
I think she should be secretary. She came with her own pen.
Well, let's just run through the officers. There's the chairperson, which I've done for quite some time and at some point would love to stop doing. And then there's a secretary whose job typically is to take pretty basic minutes, and with a template that I can provide you, you can just sort of push stuff into it. You don't, it's not terribly complex. And then there's a treasurer who is always the town treasurer. So we don't have to elect her because she's not here anyhow, and she sort of has to say yes, because that's why she's on the commission, because we have money. It is not town money. And do we have another officer?
Another officer?
Yeah, it's a secretary, treasurer. I think
Oh, that's
it.
plenty.
just-
I didn't
You've
even know
done
we
so
had a
much. I keep
treasurer.
thinking you must have been an officer at some point. You were there, okay. So,
I would nominate Jeff, a slate of Jeff Bull, chairman, Beth, it's kind of a tradition we've started, the newest member becomes the secretary. It's happened, this would be the third time in a row that I'm
Okay.
aware of.
Tradition.
And if we need a treasurer, I would recommend Brenda. And
no,
I
we
would.
have-
We don't need one.
it's the
Valerie.
town treasurer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's just.
Oh, we have
just-
Sue.
So Sue,
that's
yeah,
not
and
here
she's
also,
great, right?
Right.
Right.
And Sue Brayton as treasurer.
Yep.
If we need one. Do we have a second?
Is there a second or any discussion?
No discussion, and I second that motion.
Is there any, hearing a second, is there any further discussion?
I hear no one denying
Yeah,
the
no.
position.
It's an
Hearing
excellent,
none,
it's
all-
an excellent roster.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So you were
Thank
going to
you,
continue
and thank
today
you.
with your marvelous minutes, right?
Okay,
Yeah. So just kind of like right here.
okay, yeah, done.
All said yes, yeah. Okay, sign installation. We ordered new signs for all the town landings that are all matched. And I've been in touch with them a number of times. We failed to get them installed last fall. They are looking for them. They're getting back to me. I would like to schedule a time at some point in the future where we could meet and run around to the different landings or somehow make a decision about precisely where are these going to go and what is the orientation going to be.
Yes,
And these are signs that are similar to the one at the head of Westport that says Westport Head Town Landing, I think.
The nice green
Nice
signs,
font,
2 by 3
font, and-
feet on posts.
okay.
And we can't, I don't think it makes sense, I met the guys before, I don't think it makes sense to do it when they are there. I think what we
Right.
better do is try to do
Before.
it, because otherwise you have to be there with them for 2 hours while they dig holes.
Yeah.
So if we can figure out some way of doing, put stakes in the ground, take a picture for them or something, and that should work. Do you want to try to set a time for that now? 'Cause that way I won't have to do the email calendar chase thing. I am away, next week doesn't work for me, so I'm not back till May 1st.
When are they supposed to install them?
whenever we
Oh, okay,
insist.
okay. How about us picking a date, like starting in or about
Yeah, I'm going
the
to say,
5th of May?
yeah, or even May 1st, I should.
May
be-
1st,
Or even, let's say May 2nd, in case the flight doesn't work.
okay.
What would be a good time for people? That's Friday. I could do it in the morning,
Can't do Friday mornings, but I could do afternoon.
okay? How about
What time in the afternoon?
4 PM in the afternoon? Would that work?
Yeah, 4 is fine. That's perfect.
The wind's turned by that time.
May 2nd at 4 PM.
I'll be out of state, so I participate.
Conservation Commission, Conservation Land Trust has something going on at 5:30. Will it take more than an hour and a half?
No,
This is, how many locations are we going to?
probably just 3 because Hicks West is a little bit under discussion right now. This, so.
Can we just push it up a little bit? How about
I mean-
3?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
I've got to see an eye doctor from
Oh.
1:15 to 2:15, and last time I saw him, it took 3 hours, so.
All right, let's reconnoiter. How about Monday?
Monday,
following Monday.
the 5th. I can do it
That's probably
anytime,
better for me, too.
okay?
I
You still have the same issues.
have clients that are like, I could do, oh my goodness.
Stays late later. Later.
Yeah, I have clients until like 4:30.
Oh,
That's kind of late.
5's okay for me.
4:30, I
What
mean,
other
it's
people-
late, and we could make it at 4:35, because make the first one close to your home.
Okay. Which one would that be? Adamsville?
Yeah,
Okay, perfect.
so 4:30, let's say 4:40 on
Yeah,
the 5th.
yeah.
Okay. Great,
Perfect, okay.
moving right along.
mowing contract.
Yes,
I have a question concerning signs.
you need to introduce yourself and step to that microphone. Yes, it's a law.
Phil Vance. I have a question about signs.
Yes, sir.
Is there a life expectancy for the signs? And are they all to be installed in the same manner?
Well, they'll dig a hole, they'll put 4x4s in the hole. Most of the signs will be up until they fall down, which could be 20 years, or until they get defaced, which we hope never happens, except for the one at Emma Tripp Landing, which will be put in a way that we can take it down every winter because of storms. We'll take it away. I mean, the post will stay, but the sign will not stay,
Okay, thank you.
Why is that?
because it's in a velocity zone and stuff, all kinds of stuff that disappears on East Beach in the winter. It gets swept away.
Well, then I have an issue with that, because people leave entire buildings on East Beach in the wintertime, in the velocity zone.
Yep.
And those buildings have things inside them
Yep.
that shouldn't be in
That's-
the let, and in the water. So I appreciate that we are removing our sign, but I think that for fairness, everybody else should be moving their stuff out of there, which is a long-term issue.
Yeah, and that's certainly something to take up with the Conservation Commission, and the police department or the select board. It's not really our issue. There is a rock there that says Emma Tripp Landing.
Correct.
That will stay,
Yes, but it's hard to see,
yeah. Yep.
which is why you're putting a sign up.
Right,
Yep,
right. I would suggest, but I think I'm wrong in suggesting this, is that we put like pipes in the ground, and we can take the posts out too, because the posts are just as dangerous as the sign is, less resistance to wave action and stuff. But the problem is, the storm that causes that problem is gonna fill those post holes with sand, and we're just gonna have to suck it out, and that would not be easy to do.
Well, I will talk to the sign
I
people.
talked myself out of the suggestion.
Okay, I will talk to the sign people if they have
Well,
an
that's
answer
the-
about that. I think the posts will likely stay, but I will ask them if they've got a way to, I mean, I know there is a way to put
Yeah.
a sleeve in with a
Right.
cap.
Yeah.
Whether they're up
Yeah,
to that level
whether
of
that's
tech,
worth
I
it.
don't know. Okay, moving on, the treasurer's report. Our treasurer was called out of the building on an emergency, so there will be no treasurer's report, but
Oh, yeah.
we do have money. West Hicks Bridge Plan Review.
I think we skipped mowing contract.
Oh, yeah, mowing contracts. Up until last year, the highway department was always able to mow all the town properties. However, the highway department is down to 4 or 5 people, where they used to have 15 people, and they're people that are all highly paid people because of various commercial licenses. So we had to go out to contract with somebody to mow the landings. The people that did it last year, I contacted 4 different people. They were the only people that agreed to do it in the manner in which we wanted it mowed, which was inexpensively, without weed whacking and making it completely beautiful. If people really wanted to make it totally beautiful, we could go out to bid again. But it will rapidly deplete our treasury. So if people were okay with how they did it before,
Yeah, I
I'd like
think
to-
it was basically okay. I did speak with the director at the Watershed Alliance, and they agreed with our thought of maybe letting that area that gets perpetually flooded, let it go and just let it grow, whatever it grows itself. And, you know, there's a vegetated wetland right next to it that will, I think, introduce some seed, and so just let that go. And that could be, in their opinion, that could be the entire site south of on the
entire
on the-
lowland.
On the
rec-
east side, on the east side, the entire area that is south of the way.
Slipway.
These stone,
So the big
South.
lowland rectangle.
right.
Yeah,
And because they thought that wetlands vegetation would pretty quickly establish itself there without any real assistance, with any expensive assistance.
So we'll just let it go for a year and see what happens? In
Yep.
which case,
Absolutely.
Probably just
I am-
leaving a little bit of a walkway up to that one
Sway.
bench that's up on the raised
I
berm.
think from the handicap picnic table, you can go right up onto the berm.
Okay, that would be,
Or,
yeah.
or we can take part of the rail fence down or something.
And there's a new picnic table there that was donated by one of the late fall storms, I guess. It floated down from the head store, and they are happy with us to keep it if we would like it.
Okay, well, I don't think we can leave it there. And so it's
I'm
more of a.
not sure where it is right now,
Well,
but
no,
it's
it's-
been migrating.
It's underwater it's in the middle of that area we're talking about letting
And
it
a
grow.
common, yes, I think it should go to a little bit drier area.
So we would have to move it across the way. What do people think about encouraging picnics?
Don't think it's been a problem, or the
Yeah.
kayaks shop may be taking good care of the litter, any litter
Yep.
problem that there might be.
So should we just move it over to some flat area on the other side? See how it goes?
Yeah, yeah. There's one there now. Of-
Really?
Yeah, one that I think the landing commission probably bought, or the grant bought.
I wasn't aware there was ever one there.
I think there is, maybe I'm
Well,
wrong.
whatever.
Yep.
We'll have it moved, and
So this is a
See how it
mowing
goes.
contract anyway.
Hmm?
Stay on the mowing contract.
stay on the contract.
And I
So-
love that idea. I suggested last year that we let it go
Okay.
to nature. We need more of that anyway.
Yep, I will go back to the mowing company and saying, how much less now that you don't have to even think about wading through the water and mowing that. If we need to start mowing before our next meeting, if their bid to do it is within 20% of whatever it was last year, do we need to chase down other people, or could I have a motion to approve any amount within 20% of what their weekly rate was last year? I'm just quieting my phone.
Oh, I thought she was about to make the motion so that I could second
Yeah,
it.
I was going to make that motion, but I just don't like letting our secrets out.
Just-
What you deem reasonable, but we're a smaller area, so I'm hoping the price would be not much more than it was last year.
I would certainly hope that's the case, but I have not been in touch with them, and he is a businessman, and I don't know, I think it was like $300 or $400 every time they did the head, and $90 every time they did West Hicks Bridge.
That does
And they
seem a
did
lot.
West Hicks Bridge about twice every 2 weeks instead of every week, but I expect it'll be more often, because we didn't really start him until late July last year.
And you do one contract for both sites?
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So,
I think we should not go up in price at those prices.
well,
How
nobody
did
else
your
agreed
prices
to do it for less than 40% more than those prices.
Hmm?
No one else agreed to do it for less than
That was my-
40% of those prices.
That's interesting because my lawn doesn't cost that much with weed
It's a
whacking.
pretty big area.
So
I mean,
it's,
What is it, more than an acre, a little more than an acre? Because they don't do the west side of Drift Road, right? They just do the center
Correct.
triangle
Yep.
and the
Oh,
east
yeah.
side of Drift
Yep.
Road.
yeah.
No, that is a big space. I was thinking of the Hicks Bridge one.
Yeah, and they have to work around the tide and all kinds of things. But I think I need a motion. And then we can discuss it.
Okay, I motion that we consider 20% cost last year plus a maximum of 20%.
Right, but I will push
For
for.
discussion.
I will push for less.
Then I will second that, given the discussion, if there's a
Will you
problem.
re-second, please?
Re-second?
Yes.
I will re-second that motion.
Any further discussion on the motion?
Do you have questions about it, what it includes, Beth, or?
Well, I'm just thinking, at Adamsville, is there really anything, like, was it basically Hicks Bridge and the head?
Right,
The-
the Adamsville
Attended
mowing
to.
is a completely different
Okay,
thing that we can talk about at another time.
okay.
It's not really on the agenda.
So it's not really on this
Contract.
mowing?
No,
Okay,
it gets mowed differently.
okay.
There's been a motion and a second on the floor. Is there any further discussion?
None from me?
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
I'm
Aye.
in favor.
Hicks Bridge Plan Review. Have you seen this?
I have only seen this phone-sized piece of this. Oh, I saw this, yeah, this one was clear enough on the phone, the other one was
Have you
a
seen
little bit
this?
lacking.
Yeah, it's on your mail. Anyway,
You guys, you haven't seen this.
Um,
No? Okay, I was going to share it with
No, here.
the gentleman here, but anyhow, we are trying to move along. The highway department has done kind of a rough job of cleaning it up. I'm going to have them do a little more work there and then set it up with pretend wheel stops and then try to get the police to approve that plan.
Are we going to pay someone to neaten that up? It's pretty much what I would call, like, I would expect Ukraine would look
It looks
similar.
like Ukraine. Yes, the highway department admits they made a mistake.
All the way up Hicks Bridge Road,
Yeah,
up the
they're-
hill and
well,
stuff.
They're just going
It's-
to take care of.
Okay,
our
they're gonna
land
take
for
care of
us.
it, okay.
Yeah, but that's our expectation, is they will clean it up, and then I will put in some pretend cement wheel stops with just 4x4s, and my thought, thinking further about this, is that we need granite posts and a chain, because we don't want people in there at mud season, because that's part of why the highway department has not cleaned it up. If people start going in there during mud season, it's gonna rip it up, because we are not planning on adding any kind of gravel. Thinking about all of that and the possibilities, originally, we had thought about moving the rocks that are along the road over by the ravine so that people wouldn't accidentally drive into the ravine. But as I've thought further about it, it seems to me a better idea to put the rocks where I show them here.
The yellow?
The little orange
The little
spots.
red spots.
Oh, the plain red, not the red on white or red on cream?
So that as people come in, they will be sort of forced to turn in this, so they cannot drive to the water's edge and sit in their cars and eat lunch, or have too much fun as teenagers or whatever. That I think we want to try to keep vehicular traffic close to the parking, and then we'll just see how the grass survives. So that's where we are with that one.
I would kind of think some rocks in both of those areas.
Well, if they, no, they would be put in such a way that you just can't get through there. You won't even be able to drive close to the picnic bench. We'll have to add some rocks.
Yeah, oh boy. Where are we going to get those?
Oh, they're around.
No, I know. Right out back.
The highway department has rocks. Yep.
You're gonna move some of these, aren't you? From the road?
Oh, yeah, all the road ones would be moved away.
Yeah.
Yep,
That's part of, I don't think you need
yep.
more
But-
than that.
Well,
I've
whatever
got a
you
couple
need
you can
to.
have.
I'm sorry.
If you put the stone posts, are they pretty much at the edges of the yellow? Is that where they would be?
About, I mean, I just
Okay,
sort of,
because I was thinking, well, people will just drive in, if the rocks have to be close enough together where the cars are so that people won't just drive in.
right, well, there'll be.
Oh, yeah.
Cement wheel stops and things there too.
Oh, okay. Got it. Oh, yeah, okay, the gray, I see that.
Yep.
I thought it was the dotted line that's not there.
Well, you know, it was me drawing it.
Yeah, this is, I'm impressed, though.
All right, moving along to item 6. I don't know how many people have had a chance to understand this 17-page document.
Yeah, I was looking at it.
Basically, we would like, just so that the public is clear about this, we are doing all this work as a gift to the Select Board because this is really more a Select Board landing than a Landing Commission landing. So we've taken on this task, and we are ready to start submitting this for permitting. Unless people have particular concerns, I expect that as we go through the permitting process and it gets reviewed by all kinds of people, that it'll be subject to some adjustment. We are continuing with pretty tight lanes on parking, just to kind of optimize that, because we are losing some parking because we have lost the exit. You know, 14 out of the 17 pages of this, I don't understand at all.
Yeah.
But it's something that we leave to the engineers, and that's what we pay them, the thousands of dollars that we pay them.
So I only have, I asked a few people about who actually do use this landing. I don't know if anybody here uses this landing regularly?
Yep,
You do?
and Beth does too.
Okay, so I understand that there's a problem more with the ramp itself.
There is.
The boat
And
ramp?
The boat ramp, the one where you bring the boat down into
Yep.
the water,
Mhm.
that it needs to be extended. Or
It's
that,
needs to be repaired and-
replaced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
okay.
That's the big,
But I know that's, I know I may be asking a stupid question,
Yep.
but it's very hard to understand.
Yeah,
This-
it doesn't show
You
the
know, I need a
the break in the
magnifying glass,
pad,
and even
yeah.
that's
Yep,
not really
yep.
helping.
yeah, and that is the major hundreds of thousands of dollars to replace that.
Okay. That was my, there you go.
And there apparently is no way of fixing it, and we are in continuing danger of it, the final section, because there are 3 sections, 1, 2, 3. And this one's the one in the water, and it is half broken away. So,
And it
we're in-
continues to slide a little further, so you go down the
Okay.
concrete, then you fall into trench, then you come back up onto another piece
Okay.
of concrete, and it's just enough that it catches small trailer wheels at low tide and breaks the axle off.
I can
many
imagine, I
trailers.
have a 200-year-old landing myself, which is, it's
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah. It's probably in better shape because it was permanent and they knew how to do it, but this was I think the town was using stuff that was coming out of the state landing, and they did the best they could do with
Yeah,
what they
of
had for a
course,
pretty,
that's-
pretty reasonable price, yeah.
Make do.
But again, all of that is years away, if ever, because our next step is to start looking for money.
Ouch.
So I see someone in the audience. Do you have a question, sir?
Phil Vance, question about the document. Where is that available to the public? That 17-page report?
No place at the moment, but I'd be
Thank you.
happy to, thank you for that suggestion. And I will ask the people that know how to do it to put it on the town website. Appreciate that thought. Thank you. It is unclear to me, apparently, there's a question of do we need to have another public meeting about this? Most of the orientation of this has not changed except for the exit, which we are forced into, and I am going to a meeting with the Conservation Commission tonight at 7 PM to get that approved, because we are widening the current entrance so that will also be an exit, so it will be somewhat safer than what was going on last year. It is still not the ideal exit, but it's what we've been pushed to.
How much would you widen it by?
It's about 14 feet.
In addition?
Yeah.
What would be the total?
I don't know.
I mean, this, one of these, if I can read it, has 12 to 13 feet. So you adding another 14 to that?
You mean the current?
Yeah.
Yeah, currently it's 12, so it's going to go to like something like 24, 26. I mean, as the highway department gets into it, we'll see, and because, and certainly that will be, that could be changed when we do the final project, when there's even bigger equipment in there doing this. But,
It has to be wider, so that's.
well, there were no major accidents last year, but, huh? So hearing that, are we ready to go ahead and approve this plan as written so we can move into the permitting stage?
I'm okay with it as long as we don't have to have another public hearing. My own impression is it's actually better than the version we looked at last, which erased the land that we no longer have. But if we need to have a public hearing, I just want to make sure we do have it. And that's not up to me.
Right. I spoke with planning, and their feeling was that since it's essentially the parking optimization and the actual ramp and the floats, all of that has not changed. So they felt there was not a need for another
Okay.
public hearing. I mean, certainly, this will become a public issue because even though we hope to raise all of the money, I know it's unlikely, so at some point, we're going to have to ask the town for some matching money, and I expect that prospect will be 2 or 3 years away, so certainly this will become a public issue.
Well, the
Again,
permitting will only be good for a certain amount of time too, so there has to be some
Yep.
movement there. So
Well-
just keeping that in mind. The other thing I think that is important to keep in mind is that at least 6 and sometimes 7 days a week, there's about 20 to 25 cars that use that landing for an hour and a half to 3 hours in the morning. And if they could park 2 in a trailer spot and leave, some spots should get marked just for trailers, and cars just shouldn't park there, and those should probably be the most convenient for landing, for launching and
I would think that
Pauline.
those details will be worked out in combination with the select board.
I just wanted
As
in the
we-
record that is an important thing to consider. That landing gets used more by those early morning users than everything else combined, I think.
Yep.
If you look on a year-round basis.
Yep.
There's a few days in the summer that there's many more recreational boaters there.
Yep.
There's, a number of nice weekend days
Yeah.
that.
No, I am
that's the
all in
case.
favor of the idea.
I just want
of
to get it in the
when
minutes and.
Two
Yes.
people go together in two different cars, so they're going to show up together, and realistically, they're going to leave together, and they left somebody on an island, they should park each other in.
Yep.
And so I think that certainly should work. And it requires a little bit of cooperation. I know there's the big rowing group where people show up 6 at a time. But I think they can figure that out because, again, hopefully they all come back at the same time.
But I think it would be good to also leave like at least 3. And the rowing group has been keeping track of how many trailers are there with boats in the morning, so that we have some idea. And I think 3 spaces typically, maybe not on the weekends, but on a nice weekend day, but typically most of the season, I think 3 spots that would just be marked for trailers and people shouldn't park there.
Yep. And hopefully we will have additional vehicular parking across the river at Hicksbridge West, because there will not be trailers
Permitted.
allowed there,
Permitted.
permitted.
So to
Yes.
use that picnic bench, you need to have a permit, right?
What picnic bench?
The one that's going to go on the west side.
It's just a
The
bench.
west
It's
landing.
not a
Oh, it's
picnic
just a bench, not a picnic bench. Oh, okay. But you have to have a permit to sit on that bench, right?
No, just to
No.
park while you're,
Just to park while you're there. You could
Park.
ride your bike and don't need a
you
permit.
can ride your bike
Right.
for
Or
free.
walk.
Yeah, I mean, the public should know that access to the ocean or any river in Massachusetts, any human in the United States can access the water, use the boat ramp. It's a law. You just can't park there. So, I mean, that's just the reality that people ought to know. That, I mean, that's why it's called a commonwealth. It belongs to the common folks. But it's problematic if you also need to park.
Especially when a business is taking up all the parking spaces.
Yeah. Okay, so we have this. Do I have a motion regarding this plan?
Motion to move forward with this plan.
Do I have a second?
I'm second.
Is there any further discussion?
None for me.
Hearing none. All in favor of moving ahead with this plan in the motion?
Aye.
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 Thank you. We're on to number 7, floats. Finally, we have, partially in this plan and from the engineers, we have full specifications. So we have gone out to bid today to 4 or 5 different companies, asking them to price out the floats, which will be eventually used in this, but until we do build this, can be used to substitute for the very ailing floats that we currently have, which were hand-me-down floats from the state boat ramp 20 years ago and are dangerous in all kinds of ways and a liability. So, and we have the money to spend on those, so, and we are bidding it, actually the town is bidding it, not the landing commission, and to be sure that, again, they can be used there. As I have looked into the bidding process and spent way too much time talking to dock builders and float companies, there is a move in most parts of the country away from standard-looking, heavy, pressure-treated wood floats with those black tub floats underneath them to rotomolded, large pieces of plastic. And it is not, the plastic does not degrade, it actually degrades less than those black things. And they are smoother, they are about 1/3 of the weight, and they are engineered to be stable in a seaway. I've seen hurricanes making them, I mean, they do move up and down like any float will, but they seem surprisingly durable. So there will be a decision, once we get the quotes back, do we make it look pretty much exactly like what we've got now, which will cost I'm pretty sure, more money than the plastic ones, or do we take a chance with the plastic ones? It is hard to, unless you go to rowing clubs or places, I have not found a place easily where I can go walk on one of those things and see it. I have spoken to people at Auburn University who installed rotomolded plastic floats of one of the kind that we're bidding 19 years ago, and the people there said they're great, and yes, they're still floating, and they leave them in the water year-round there. So they seem to last pretty well, and there's no real issue of plastic degradation. There's no outgassing. I mean, the sun does eat plastic. They are somewhat UV treated, so I don't expect that they will last a century, but so there will that decision to be made. That's probably going to be a select board decision. But if anyone would like to provide input or has experience, I am going to try to be in touch with a couple of collegiate programs, and I know there's some very avid shell rowers who I've not been, you know them, I believe.
Yeah, I've seen them at not rowing club places and at one rowing club place, but it was the aluminum ones there. And we don't want the type for Hicksbridge that the rowing clubs use, the shells, the racing.
You don't want the low ones.
We don't want the low,
Those are
that
less stable.
wouldn't work well. They would get driven over by motorboats based on the damage that's occurred to the handrails that we put
The ones we're looking
up.
at have the similar amount of
Yeah, yeah.
freeboard. Yeah.
And ability to mount posts and cleats and other things to attach boats to is important, which I know that all dock companies are going to offer that. And are you just going to go for plastic, or are you going to go for plastic or wood?
We have put the bid out, wood, aluminum, plastic, and we will see what comes back to us.
Because I don't know what shipping is on the plastic ones, but,
Bid includes freight delivered.
yeah. And so I'm thinking that might give the local guys a little bit of an edge, but we'll see what we get.
Yep.
I'm okay with what you've designed, provided we can use them in the new design if it ever gets built.
Mhm. Okay.
I motion that we go ahead with that bid. Second.
I'll second that motion.
Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of
Aye.
continuing? Aye.
Aye.
All right. The next one is to set the Hicksbridge public meeting date. I put this on the agenda before I spoke with the planning board about their feeling that we did not need another public meeting. I will kind of reconfirm that with our select board representative who's sitting here in terms of his sense of, do we really need to think about bringing the public in? I can speak with Jim Hartnett about that also.
Yeah, I don't know, I mean, follow whatever rules are
Mhm.
there.
Yeah, right.
I don't know if they are in this case.
Yeah. I mean, we don't have a lot of options beyond this. And again, depending on how the bids come in 2 to 4 years from now, we may not ever get the money to build this. And I don't know how people will get their boats in the water in the future. And if we don't do it soon and the ramp really fails, then it's an extra $100,000 to $200,000 to drag the cement out of the river. So we will definitely try to move ahead. And it could be that part of this gets built and not all of it, too. It's an unknown. And next, I sent you all a spreadsheet showing the history of what we have charged for leases for the couple pieces of property that we own. And, oh no.
I have a question about that. When those numbers are calculated, is that via the tax, the assessment for the land that's being rented, set by the town assessor?
What,
I'm sorry,
The
is the
amounts-
town assessor,
When I started on the landing commission, the town treasurer, who's a member of the landing commission, had gone out into the public and said, what does land, when you're leasing land, what do you get per square foot? And he got some figures, and for about 18 years, the price never changed. And I got on the landing commission, and I saw how little money it was, and I was like, gee, this really doesn't seem like enough. Part of my family has their home on leased land, and it just wasn't enough. So I pushed to start increasing the amount that we charged, and you have seen the history of that I printed,
yes.
and I'm getting
So we
surprised
never,
I did not
when
bring
we
copies.
made the initial determination of what the costs were going to be, that was only based on word of mouth?
No, he did some research, but again, this was probably 30 years ago, 40 years ago. He did some research, and I sort of suggested that this isn't enough money, and it's way out of whack with what the actual market is.
Yeah.
And so we raised it quite a bit. And then the tax assessor discovered that there was actually a way, even though they were leasing the land, to charge a certain amount of income, certain amount
Property
of
tax.
property tax, in addition to the tax on their buildings that are on the land. So there was an additional hit on those folks, an additional expense on those two tenants. So where we are now is still, as if you look at my analysis underneath that spreadsheet, and I apologize, I don't have copies of that with me today,
I do.
which is, I think it's still
I thought.
a deal, but I still think it makes sense to keep going up because we are now having expenses that we haven't seen before, like mowing and other kinds of things.
I agree with the raise. I think for waterfront property, this is a pretty good bargain.
Yes, absolutely. Considering the
And,
tax
you know, I
is built
think,
in.
we were a little bit conscious of raising it very much, but I mean, I think you could raise it a lot more, but I think this is fair. The only thing I don't get in your spreadsheet is what does ahead mean? At the bottom, your last thing, like, I'm not sure
Right there.
what that, I don't know what that figure is.
I'm sorry,
Those figures are.
what number?
The last one. This was-
On the last number in green, the ahead. and
Oh,
then
when
you-
I say ahead, when I looked at if these people owned that property, what would they have to pay in real estate taxes and other stuff?
A lot more than that.
No, in other words, what would be the difference in, relative to what they're paying to rent the land? So what I'm suggesting is, yes, it's still a very good deal.
So I would motion, and subject to discussion, I would motion to go with the 6%. And for both, keep it the same amount of increase. And I'm willing to listen to other people's thoughts.
I agree, I totally agree. I think it's still a good deal.
Oh,
I think my taxes went up more than that, so.
Yeah. Also, and I don't want this to be part of this discussion, but we own other pieces of property that we're giving to people, organizations, businesses, and they're not paying anything for that property. And I think that's got to end.
well, we can put that on the agenda for next month.
I think it should go on the agenda.
I will do that.
It's not fair to be charging some people for usage and others not for usage.
All right. And I am very sorry to let you know that while I made copies of all this, and I made copies of the lease for your signature at 6%, and I hope to get all your signatures on that, and I can't do that right now So I'm going to have to chase you down in the next few days because we need to give them notice of this. So if they,
When is our typical renewal date? I forget.
it's May 1st,
Okay.
so,
That May Day is an
Yeah.
important day, and you're busy.
This is the closest to that we've ever been since
You're
I've
busy
been on
all
the
the
commission.
typically been beyond this, yes, so.
Way beyond.
That's
Yeah.
good, business is good.
So, yeah, I will have to be in touch with you to collect some signatures. So,
And stop by
there is a
or-
motion on the floor to go with the 6% increase.
I second that emotion. I always don't want to do that, and I forgot. Sorry.
Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion at 6% increase?
Favor.
And it is unanimous. And we are moving right along to number 10, which is reviewing past minutes. Did you happen to bring any of those with you?
No,
So we will have to do that at the next meeting.
we'd have to make them up, too.
If you could email them to us, would be great, then we can see them and give Beth a little history.
Yep. Is there any other business not anticipated at the time of posting? Hearing none, we'll move right on to setting the next meeting date.
Should that be in conjunction with viewing the locations for the signage?
Well, I'd like to set a real meeting date
Okay, yeah,
because we may have other things to discuss, and I don't want to try to be chasing people with email like we did last time. I want to give
Yeah.
us enough notice
So-
so that people can schedule. There's some people on this commission who work and have schedules. So what does, typically it was always on Tuesdays. What's the current people's schedules about, do we stay with a particular day of the week?
Tuesday's okay for me, and it avoids us having a conflict with the select board using the room.
that's a big
I
issue.
guess it's easy enough for the
Are
camera people.
Tuesdays in general good for-
Tuesdays aren't the best for me, but I can do it, as long as I get out early enough.
Yeah,
Okay, so do we want to stay with 4 PM?
sure.
Mhm.
Okay, so our next meeting then will be Tuesday, the 13th. Oh. I have a doctor's appointment at 3 PM. I don't normally
We
see a
won't
lot of
work.
doctors.
That's why you retired,
Yeah,
I know the feeling.
really.
okay, how about Wednesday, the 14th?
Can't do that unless it's after 5.
How about Thursday, the 15th?
I can't do Thursdays until, like,
It's okay, no,
June.
that's why we're just trying to figure it out. Well, then we can go to Monday. How about,
Then we have a conflict.
but they don't start till 6 o'clock, and
Oh, okay.
we're going to
And we
make our
make a-
1
Yeah,
hour.
okay.
Yeah,
good,
we're a
good.
one-hour meeting
That's good,
group,
good.
Okay,
Minutemen.
so how about Monday, the 12th?
as long as it's, because I have a client till 4:30, so
4:45?
No, then we're
figure
going
it
to,
out.
No, we're still at it.
45.
Because when does the select board start?
6?
6.
And they probably bring in paper and stuff, you know, they need.
Okay, well, how about, let's go to the next week?
Oh, yeah, our select board every Monday or just
Yeah, every
every
other.
other? But you don't know right now what those
Yeah, I
are?
do.
Oh, you do?
I know the 5th is not a select board because we have an audit committee meeting, we picked it for that reason. So the following week would be a select board meeting, which would be the 12th or something.
Yep.
Mhm.
yep,
And then the week after that, which I'll say is the 19th or something, that's no audit committee meeting and there is no select board meeting.
Okay, but how about Tuesday, the 20th?
That should be okay.
Does that work?
yes,
Works for
much
me.
better than the 19th. I don't want
As
to come
long as
here
it's
on my
like-
birthday.
Like 4 o'clock?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, great.
4 PM?
Yes,
4 PM. Be there or be square.
Monday the 20th, right?
yep.
Okay.
You just said Monday?
No, Tuesday, the 20th.
Tuesday, the 20th.
Yes. So, I will be in touch with you about signing the leases, and then I will send them out.
You don't need this, right? You've got,
Do you,
you've got the originals.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Mr. Chairman, do we
Yes.
have a question from the other person in the audience?
Nothing for the record.
Nothing for the
Okay.
record. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you for a quick meeting.
Appreciate
Nice to
it.
have you here, both of you. And Sue had an emergency, but she's still on the commission, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Do we need to-
We are adjourned.
Ah,